Hello to all of our listeners out there. I'm Clinton,
I'm Hillary.
and welcome to Blacklantic. We are a podcast, website, and media channel with the goal of bringing East Coast Black voices to the world.
You can expect to hear from us every week with guests, segments, panels, roundtables exploring topics from all over Atlantic Canada.
So be sure to check us out at blacklantic.ca.
And follow Blacklantic on all social media channels like Instagram, TikTok, Twitter, Facebook, YouTube, and more.
Wonderful. Okay, so we are here and back for another week of Blacklantic.
Yeah.
And as to our watchers watching us on YouTube, you can see that we have a guest here that we're very excited about.
Yes.
But before we introduce her, Hillary, how was your week?
Had a busy week, good week. Everything feels very post-COVID in Toronto. So now all of the events are full swing. I went to the Canadian International Fashion Film Festival's beauty night and got to do some networking and schmoozing there. And then I also went to a concert this week, which, as you know, caused my ears to ring for 2 days. But thus is life. No, very good. And then today I'm also doing 2 back-to-back schmooze shopping events. So always busy. How about you?
What's a schmooze shopping event?
You get to drink and eat and network while shopping sales that are exclusive to being in person. So one is with Hillary McMillan, who I'm wearing, who I shop at very, very often. The other one's on behalf of Bayview Mall, which is going to be like a wedding and bridesmaids gown thing. But you get to go to like 8 different shops and get free samples and food and desserts. And then they're recording it for TV. So I get to be part of the live audience.
That's awesome. I have not heard the 2 words Bayview Mall together in over 20 years. I grew up in Toronto and that wasn't too far from me. I forgot it even existed. Maybe they've renovated it and it's more significant now.
It's the fancy one now. They host all of these events from the Kit magazine. They're like, when you go, there's a woman, like a stencil of a woman on the outside in a gown being like, she shops here. Like, it's very fancy. It's trying to be Yorkdale light.
Wow, that's neat.
Yeah. How's your week been?
My week was good. I was asked to be a guest speaker for a panel as part of an organization called the Tribe Network's Black Startup Initiative. What the Tribe Network is doing is they are hosting events in all of the major cities in the Maritimes from April to June, in which they are encouraging Black entrepreneurs and Black entrepreneurial hopefuls to come together in different cities, network, meet, build, connect, get access to resources, possibly funding and such like that. And Lily Lynch, who is the owner of Sankara Market in St. John, as well as a team member of Tribe Network based out of Halifax, asked me to speak. Now, as some of our listeners know, I have, like most people, a huge fear of public speaking. Forget the fact that I was a performer, a rap artist for over 10 years, and I've been in 9 or more onstage musicals. Public speaking is a whole different beast. So I almost declined, but I didn't. And I'm so grateful for that because it was an event held downtown Moncton at Venn Innovation. And forget about my speaking, just the being there was a room full of so much energy and potential and young hopefuls. And I've never seen so many Black people come together in one room with shared goals of business and connecting, networking, organizing in Moncton in my life. It was historic for me. And so here's the Tribe Network sticker. They have a pretty cool sticker. And Hillary, I haven't told you this yet, but I got you a Tribe t-shirt.
Aww.
So
I was already getting emotional at like, I wish I could have been there for that as someone who grew up there and knows how much we need that type of diversity. I was already getting misty-eyed. And you got me a present.
Yeah, and I just love the fact that their colors are orange as well, similar to our Blacklantic logo colors. So that's pretty neat. So it was the Tribe Network was founded, and the CEO of that is a gentleman named Alfred. I can't remember his last name, based out of Halifax. His team members that were present were Lily, Holly, and Sally. And it was just a great and powerful event. I met so many amazing people, including Damilola.
Congrats.
Damilola is the face you're looking at that has been so patiently waiting for us to do our intro spiel. Um, I noticed Damilola in the corner with the cameraman recording, and she came over to me and spoke to me and asked to speak to me, and we connected for a bit. And in my opinion, the energy was there right away. I found her to be an incredibly interesting person. And among all the other people I want to have on the show, including the people from the Tribe Network,
Mhm.
because what they're doing is
Huge.
literally amazing. We're all trying to do big things in the Maritimes, but I got to be honest, they're on a really cool level because if you go to tribenetwork.ca, they have a social media site similar to Facebook, but it's geared towards not just Black people, Indigenous people, people of color who are looking to connect. So you've got your pages and your news feeds and groups and everything. And it's huge kudos and props to them for what they're doing. And it is where I met Damilola. Her full name is longer than that. We'll probably get her to tell us her full name again, as well as what it means, because it's beautiful. And welcome to the show, Damilola. How are you today?
Thanks, Clinton and Hillary. I am doing awesome, and thanks for having me here. I feel so excited.
We're
Well,
excited.
we're so excited to have you here. Disclaimer before we get started, we were having major technical difficulties before the show.
Everyone was.
I was the one having most of the difficulties. But when you hear Demi Lola speak, you are going to hear a bit of feedback and distortion that we won't be able to get rid of. Just try to ignore it and focus on the greater picture of all the interesting things we feel she's going to bring to this conversation.
Yeah.
So, Demi Lola, we would love for you to tell us a little bit about yourself.
All right. So I am Nigerian. Hi, everyone. And yeah, it's great to be here with the guys on Black Atlantic. Um, as I was saying, I am Nigerian. Immigrated to Canada, New Brunswick as a permanent resident almost 4 years ago. Just in a couple of days would be 4 years. So almost. Yeah.
Happy Fourth.
And thank you. Yeah. I arrived here with my husband and two boys, two kids, and it was to find more opportunity to live with increased quality of life. Uh, Being from Nigeria, Nigerians, we are very, very hardworking. We like to study, we like to do business a lot, and we love to have fun. We love to live well. We love to enjoy the quality of living. So we just wanted to give better opportunity to our children as well as live better quality of lives with them. And we decided if it meant exploring new territories, then we were going to be committed to doing that. Uh, I have always been someone who loves family, who loves family values. I like to research family values. I like to put that out there. And I think that was where my whole story of wanting to be out there, that was where it all started from. So arriving here in Canada, New Brunswick, we started our journey from Fredericton. We moved from there to St. John, and then we are based now in Moncton. Um, During this whole journey, I have met very amazing people, but then I have also absorbed and observed the way newcomers, immigrants live, the different things they're trying to do while trying to impact their community. And I felt like I think I can lend a voice by putting out other immigrants like myself, by giving a voice out there, sharing our culture, our very beautiful culture as Nigerians. I did find as well that there was this not so much information about Nigerians and Africans as a whole, and I felt like I might have a job to do there. So that's basically background of what I'm about, what I have been doing, and where I am from.
Wow. So sorry, Hillary.
Yeah.
I thought you lived in St. John. Did you say you live in Moncton?
Yeah.
I live in Moncton, yes.
Oh, I had no idea. Okay. That is wonderful. I also feel, is there not a very large Nigerian population in New Brunswick, if not Canada?
There is. It's growing. It's amazing. The last 2, 3 years have actually been. It feels like there's been an influx of Nigerians actually into the community. I think right now though, Moncton has the greatest population of Nigerians in the whole of New Brunswick.
I find that really interesting. Last week, Hillary and I released a "Where Are You From" episode, and while I didn't disclaim that, there was a whole segment of people over on this side of the ocean, maybe not knowing where they're from because we were stolen from where we were from, with no record keeping or access to information, and all culture and stuff lost. But my father, we got him a heritage DNA kit years ago, and it seems like we're from Nigeria originally, which was really exciting to learn. It didn't get us really any closer to knowing the details of it because,
Yeah.
as you know, Damilola, Nigeria. Well, Hillary's going to ask you about Nigerian culture, but it didn't. Here, anyways, go ahead, Hillary.
No, what are you trying to say?
Well, Damilola is
He's
probably going to say this.
Nigerian.
I'm trying to say that when I started to research and learn more about Nigeria, it turns out
Yeah,
there's over 200 cultures in that one
that's right.
country with over 200 languages. So there is still probably no way to pinpoint
Yeah,
the exact where I'm
Right.
from. That's what I was going
Okay.
to
true.
say.
Understood.
That's
I figured that's what you were trying to say, but I was just like, what?
Yeah.
So I'm curious. I found it funny that you said like that, Nigerians are hardworking, love life, want to have fun. And as someone who grew up in New Brunswick, you want to have fun when you went to New Brunswick. And so I'm curious, like, what has that shift been like for you? And especially, like Clinton said, in comparison to what Nigeria is like and that culture, have you found any similarities? Is it just two stark, completely different places? And how have you found integrating and New Brunswick?
of course. Nigeria. Well, I grew up uh, all my life I lived in Lagos. Lagos is, you'll find the biggest commercial city in Nigeria. We have up to about 17 million people living in Lagos. So Lagos is very densely populated. Uh, and so as you can imagine, it's life in Lagos is complete opposite of the hundreds of thousands that live here in New Brunswick in total. Um, you have driving out to work every morning, you have to set out like 2 hours before you resume because you're going to drive in heavy traffic. And then, I mean, my commute back and forth work was in total about 4 hours every day. So it's probably similar. I probably can compare that to living in Toronto right now. But yeah, so it's completely different. We say here in New Brunswick, everywhere you have to go to is between 15 to 25 minutes max you where you are. I mean, that's like a blink of an eye compared to where we live. In terms of fun, I mean, Lagos is fun. Nigeria is fun. I did hear about a survey that was done a couple of years ago, and Nigerians were termed like the happiest people in the world. Yeah, and that's because we live in very tough situations. And when I say very tough situations, Nigerians, and that goes in line with what I say about being very hardworking. We basically work for everything. We work very hard. We make the money. We want to live good lives. I mean, I'll just speak a few examples and comparisons as well. Living in Nigeria or in Lagos, if you are going to buy a home here, it's so easy to buy a home here because you get mortgage. In Nigeria, if you're going to buy a home, 80% of the time you do have all your cash down, and you are probably looking at about the same amount of getting the type of houses that you want to get here. In terms of value, you are looking at about almost the same amount, in conversion. So you need to have all that money in cash. We don't have 24/7 electricity supply. And so we have our own personal inverters, uh, which is funded by yourself personally. You have generators, which is funded by yourselves. Most of our generators probably run on gas or on diesel. And with the hiking prices of gas and diesel right now, it is an expensive way to live. And so we want to live good quality of life. And so we have to expend so much just for us to get that constant power supply, that security, that that happy place. But despite all of this, we make fun out of everything. Like, there would be jokes out of the craziest situations back home in Nigeria, things that would get a community depressed. You will find memes and jokes and skits and all kinds of stuff out of that. And everybody just goes on, we just keep on living through all of this. And so it's quite different living here in New Brunswick. In terms of fun, we love nightlife, we love to party. I like to say Nigerians are very loud. Like, when we speak to another Nigerian, you find it's as though we speak on top of our voices, not because we're yelling at each other. People probably feel like we're yelling, but we're excited. So we have all that energy. We are carrying all that, and we're like, hey, I haven't seen you in a while. What's up? And we're like raising our voices. And that is just how we are, just that set of people that have that burst of energy. And so if you have a Nigerian neighbor and you find that they have lots of cars in front of their house all the time, it's because we love to have people around. We love community. We want to have build that thing around ourselves. So yes, New Brunswick is pretty quiet. It's a very quiet province, but then we are making life fun for ourselves, bringing in that culture and that whole excitement, that whole energy here in New Brunswick.
Wow. Well, I've been in New Brunswick for 12 years now, and I'm definitely finding it more and more fun and exciting the more diverse it gets. So I'm so excited about the newcomers that come here. I won't speak about some of the government. Anyways, so I yeah, that is like we New Brunswick needs a lot of work, and so does Canada. But we really are living in a bubble over here when we complain about the power going out for 5 hours, or housing is too expensive to begin with. But the fact that you can get a mortgage from a bank and live in a home instead of have to, wow,
Yeah.
it's the things I know these things. I know the rest of the world is like that, but hearing it is always a stark reminder of, with all the problems we have, it is a privilege to be in Canada. Although it sounds like people in Nigeria are probably happier, which is a whole other conversation.
Yeah.
So you've lived in all three cities in New
Hmm.
Brunswick.
Yeah.
What's been your favorite? What's been your least favorite? Do you want to speak to the pros and cons? Because they are all they're very different cities in a lot of ways. So, and you've had the experience of being in all of them. Do you want to speak to us about some of
Of course.
the
Although
insights?
someone did warn me never to say it out. You don't want the residents in the different cities to know which one you prefer best. But
Oh,
well, no. I mean, I moved into Moncton in 2019, summer 2019, and I have been in Canada, in total, New Brunswick, for almost 4 years. So if you do the math, you should be able to tell which one I prefer the most.
okay. Awesome.
Yeah, in terms of pros and cons, I do find Moncton the most diverse, actually. I do find Moncton the most fun, bubbly. There is more things to do, there are more people to meet. I find the people more welcoming. Um, I find it, perhaps because it's a much more diverse city, it does have that welcoming vibe. I find that there are more stores that speak to people of my race and background, as compared to St. John and Fredericton. Fredericton I find as pretty small knit city, very small knit community. Like everybody tends to know everybody, which is not a bad thing. But growing up in a city like Lagos, I just feel like I want to have more options. I want to have more places to go to. Like in the greater mountain area, you have the mountain side, and then you have the Dieppe region, and you have the Riverview. It feels like there is more options here than in Fredericton. St. John, uh, quite big in terms of land mass, but I feel the city is somewhat disconnected. Like it's large and just disjointed, and I find the roads really uh not sure of the right words to use, but driving wasn't the most fun for me in St. John, if you understand what I mean. Although they do have, you have a lot of international students in St. John as well, I still find it quite disjointed. And for a person of my background who loves community, who loves to see people, who loves to be in the midst of people and in the midst of city, I have found myself loving mountain the more. So
That
yeah.
is that is so interesting because if you talk to people like Hillary or my partner who grew up here, they're going to paint a completely different picture of what Moncton was and honestly has been for so many decades until just recently. 5, 6, 7, even saying 7 years maybe is going back too far, but it's very different in terms of how they treat people from other cultures.
Yeah.
Hillary, what do you?
Yeah, I was saying before we started to Damilola that yeah, that
Yeah.
in the 4 years that she's been here, it seems that there's been that shift because when I was there, I definitely felt at least I didn't feel like I was part of the Black community. And of course, now that we do this podcast, maybe I would show up and feel completely different on top of the amount of newcomers and diversity and change and push for community. And I wonder how post pandemic, if we can sort of say that, how community has been encouraged because we spent so much time inside. And so now people are flocking to be together. My experiences of Fredericton and St. John are very minimal, but I somehow understand what you mean about the driving. I did like the driving there was very confusing and there was just like a
Yeah,
lot of hills. And I was just like,
exactly.
why?
Yep.
How do I get there? How do I get to where I'm trying to go? And why is it going in the opposite direction first? It
Yep.
was the worst.
Yep.
So I understand somehow exactly what you mean. And Fredericton, I feel like I only went to maybe for a museum as a kid. We didn't have a car growing up. So for some reason, my knowledge of New Brunswick,
Fredericton's
minimal.
very small and very political. It's just it's like a government
Yeah.
city.
From what I
Yep.
feel, it's
Exactly.
white. Like
It's very white.
most of
Yes.
New Brunswick.
That
Yeah.
too. Yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
Anyway, so speaking more about you, I know that you work for Opportunities New Brunswick, which I think is fabulous. And I would love to hear more about not only what they sort of do, because it feels to me like that's something else that popped up, like Dialogue New Brunswick, Opportunities New Brunswick, all of these organizations seem to pop up after I left. And also what you do for them and what your role is there.
Yeah, sure. I work with Opportunities New Brunswick as a business navigator, and the business navigators help entrepreneurs, new and existing, navigate provincial requirements. So, looking at things like permits, licenses, business name registration. We do work with so many other partners as well. So we do connect businesses with tax information, with the CRA. We also work with Service New Brunswick, other economic growth organizations like ACOA, CBDC, banks that do or organizations that do provide funding to businesses, especially startup initiatives. Um, so that is basically what we do. The Business Navigator service itself is fairly new. It's about 2 years old now. And we have dealt in total with nothing less than 300 employee entrepreneurs over the past 2 years that we have worked with, which I think for the New Brunswick community is really, really amazing. We were in the forefront of the COVID response team, when I say forefront, in terms of supporting businesses, existing businesses, we did play a major role. We were the uh, contact line to reach out to on how to get information out to businesses, um, what they needed to do in terms of staying compliant with all the requirements for all the COVID rules and the regulations. We also played a very major role with the small business recovery grant that was provided through the province, and where there were grants that were given to businesses that were negatively impacted by the pandemic. So we do run that one-on-one service with entrepreneurs, and I think so far we have had a huge impact in the community in general. Yep.
That's amazing. Yeah. So when we were speaking the other day, I was saying that yeah, there's a lot of different economic agencies and organizations that overlap what they do, and I've always felt that opportunities NB has always struck me as one of the better ones, one of the good ones. The ones you mentioned as well. I'm in line with all of those. There's some organizations in New Brunswick that or in Moncton that I really encourage people to stay away from, entrepreneurs to stay away from. And I think you know which one I'm talking about. I'll say it. It's 3Plus. I really can't stand the people there or the board, and I think they are not. I don't think they move forward. This is not your words to anyone who's listening to this. This is my opinion. I don't think they have the interests of newcomers in mind. That's my personal opinion. But it sounds like what you do is amazing work. You've helped
Oh,
over 300 businesses. You help people of all cultures and backgrounds. Quick question:
yeah.
are you allowed to disclose like how many people of color have come to opportunities and be for help? How many you've helped start businesses here in the city? Because I was surprised at how many people we met at that event that were already
Yeah.
running Black businesses in Moncton.
Yeah, we do. I can speak about that,
No
and
problem.
I believe I should be, I should have that freedom to speak about that. I just wanted to speak very briefly
No, no,
about 3Plus, if you don't mind,
I don't.
because yeah, they are one of our partners, and it's interesting that you say that. I found that it's a different uh opinion that I experienced, or I mean, a different experience that I have had, because we do work with them, and I am aware that they provide the business immigration. They do have a program for business immigrants, and I do know that there are a couple of people that have passed through that. So we might want to take this off the air. I would like to know exactly more information as to how, I guess it's kind of like my person. I want to get involved and see how I can help improve all of that. So yeah, that really did pique my interest. But yeah, back to
Absolutely. No, that's okay.
yeah,
We can take that off the air. We can chat about that
sure.
more afterwards.
Yeah,
And again, this is my opinion. I'm not speaking for you,
yeah.
Damilola, in any way whatsoever. But you're doing a lot of other interesting things
Mhm.
as well. I think Hillary, is it your turn?
I thought that it was yours, but I can also ask.
Okay.
It,
Well,
it doesn't matter. We both want to know
yep.
about the Journey New Brunswick, which is
Yeah,
I believe one of your Instagrams and a project that you're
yeah,
working on, and curious to hear what that's about and what you're doing with that.
yeah, sure. So that did start as it was part of my journey coming into New Brunswick. I have, like you mentioned, Clinton, about people of color. We do have very limited um, promotion, I would say. That was something that I picked, and that was one of the drives, one of the reasons, the things that brought about that passion, that interest about bringing forth people of color, immigrants, people like myself. I did find that there was a lot that we were doing, providing information, uh, supporting the community, impacting the province in very, very positive ways. I also did find that there was very little information and education about us, especially immigrant, there was the mindset that, like I did share before we started um, this, that people would see a person of color and believe that every person or every immigrant that shows up because there is war back home in your country, or there is trouble back home in your country, and so you are just here to learn. You probably have very, very little to offer. And I thought that there might be an opportunity to educate people about our background, where we are from. um, Indeed, we might have some challenges in our countries, but that does not put us out there as dangerous people. It does not put us out there as um, less knowledgeable. It doesn't put us out there as less educated, or being able to provide less into the community. And so I found around me, especially the Nigerians around me, were doing stuff. There was the likes of Christine from Kaima Designs, and um, there was Esther from Shine Transformation. There was Olaiton from Operate Consulting. There was Sheon from Door to Door. Even my husband, Ebenezer, also does a lot of training. He does training and consulting, digital transformation. And there were just so much that people were offering. We were empowering ourselves. We were bringing people out there, creating jobs for people. And I just felt like we need to have a platform where we can put ourselves out. And that was what started the journey NB. So the journey started. I just said, you know what, I'm going to go out there. I'm going to start to do interviews. I would drive out to uh, Fredericton, to St. John. I think the very first interview that I ran after my husband was uh, Bolaji from Divine African Market. She imports food from back home in Africa, Nigeria, Congo, and several other places, because we want to eat African food. We love spicy, and I don't find Canadian food spicy enough. I don't find it.
It's not. It's not.
I'm trying to be very modest about this. But yeah, we have very colorful food, very honestly, trust me, you can't beat African dishes. Like, they are tasty. I'm feeling hungry actually right now talking about it. If you hear about any Nigerian party, I bet you want to be there. You want to be there because you want to try out the food. It's lovely. Yeah, and so we had so this lady Bolaji decided, she got in here and she was like, there weren't too many people providing food here of this kind of uh, background, and that was where she started from. And I decided, let's put ourselves out there, let people get to know about us. Bolaji was on CBC on the radio um, show a couple of months ago during the International Women's Celebration. And she reached out to me to say, thank you. You were the first person who actually put me out there. I had the first interview with you, Damilola, and you were the first person to put me out there. Now the world is seeing me. Now Canada is seeing me. Now New Brunswick is seeing me, and you were the first person to put me out there. And that gives a lot of satisfaction, a lot of fulfillment, that now we are beginning to get heard. We are beginning to get seen.
That's so beautiful to hear, because that's exactly what I had mentioned at the panel the other night at the event, is just the ability through what you're doing and what we're doing to empower people, to help them believe in themselves a bit, help get their word out a bit more. So what you did for what is her name?
Bolaji.
What you did for Balaji just
Yeah.
probably gave her that extra. She was very motivated on her own, but that extra confidence, that extra drive, that extra step, that feeling of being heard and acknowledged, and what she's doing is worthwhile. So that's incredible. And I'll put it out there, like, we will accept invites to any Nigerian parties coming up.
Yes.
Hillary's got to come to town soon at some point to get her
Yeah.
t-shirt and see her mom. And yeah, if there's a party, let us know.
We'll be there. I did
There
wanna.
is lots coming up in summer, so I will let you know which ones you need to be.
Proper, perfect.
We'll be there.
Hillary, I'll let you take the next question. Oh, go ahead.
Well, I was just going to ask briefly. I did do the last two, so you can ask the next question, but I did want to ask briefly if these interviews, I just want to make sure everyone knows where can they watch them.
They are on YouTube.
Okay, perfect.
Yes, Clicks by Dami is what I have them, and the name on there is The Journey.
Okay, awesome.
Okay, and we're going to get you to repeat. We're going to get you to go over all the information as well at the end of where people can find everything that you're doing. Um, so, what has it been like being a Black female entrepreneur in New Brunswick? To the people that grew up here, I mean, it's really refreshing for us to. I didn't grow up here, but it's really refreshing to hear how the stories and narratives are shifting compared to what they used to be. But in your personal opinion, what is being a Black female entrepreneur in New Brunswick like?
Uh, I must say, first of all, I started my entrepreneurship journey as a
In
photographer. Yes. Oh,
Oh,
yeah. Even here in Canada, in New Brunswick, I
but you
did.
also started it in Nigeria. You were an entrepreneur there as well, were you not?
Yes, I was.
Okay.
I did. Well, I am. Did you want me to relate that from Nigeria or from here?
No,
Sure.
not necessarily, but
Yeah.
it's an open question, whatever
Yeah.
you
Yeah,
want.
I would say there's been more focus for me here in New Brunswick, and yeah, I'll speak around that. Um, I found that there was very little mentorship, very few people who do the same thing or understand. For example, having to find training and doing things for people of color, I found that there was very limited mentorship available. It's been very difficult, and hence the community, why we do have ourselves, you know, coming together and trying to empower ourselves. But then we still need someone who understands the terrain, somebody who has been there years ahead of us. I also did find that there was very little funding for female entrepreneurs as well. Uh, and probably people of color like myself, um, it we are still very limited within our community. I don't like to be constrained to my community. I want to do more. I live in a bigger community now, and so I want to reach out to, I want to be able to do more within the community that I live within. I have found that, and which is one of the reasons why I started on the journey. Like I said, there was very little promotion for
Mhm.
us. And that's what I find even on my day-to-day job when I speak with people of color. I find that there is very little promotion out there for um, for people like myself. Yep.
Okay, so the sense you've got is that you've had to sort of navigate all this terrain on your own.
Yep.
You had trouble finding the resources, the people who would mentor you, who would. It's interesting that you work for Opportunities MB now because now you are providing people with those resources. But
Yes.
Canada is probably very different than Nigeria in terms of HR, tax concerns, payroll issues, uh, accessing funding and loans, and yeah, so
Yeah.
you just felt like you're out on your own. That's really interesting. um, so on Instagram we noticed that you've been teasing that something big is coming. um, are you able to elaborate anything? Are you able to give our listeners maybe even a teaser as to what that may be?
Uh,
No pressure, you can say no. We will ask you something else.
Probably would like to extend or stretch that tease the more. Well, there is something good coming, something that I'm excited about, something that does follow the line or the path of what we have been speaking about, trying to lend that voice out there. There is an opportunity actually for me to get on TV with this. And that is what this is all about. I will keep more details until later when there is more information to support that. And but yes, this is, we do have recordings happening already. We do have that, and it's an opportunity for us to have much more Black, um, different racial, more diverse race out there on TV, more cultures being showcased on TV. So
Okay, I'll
yeah.
take that as an elaboration on the little teaser
Yeah.
online. I'll take that. That's amazing. Um, I mentioned at the beginning of our episode your full name, Ula
Oluwa Damilola.
Olua Damilola, and you need to tell all the listeners what your name means because it is wonderful.
Absolutely. Yes, please. So Oluwa is I am Nigerian from the Yoruba clan, and in Yoruba, Oluwa means God. And so Oluwa Damilola means that the Lord has blessed me with much wealth, much riches. So yeah,
And I imagine wealth doesn't only mean money, right?
absolutely.
It's
That's
an
right.
overall picture of well-being,
Yes.
happiness,
Beauty.
family,
Yes.
beauty. Okay.
100%.
Yes, we both agree. Yes,
Yes.
absolutely. Um, what did we miss? What topics, what do you want to speak on? What do you want people to know? What commentary do you have for our listeners before we wrap up here today?
Yeah, it would be that most of the immigrants that people see out there are people that are coming into New Brunswick for positive reasons. I know that there has been a lot of projections out there as to, a lot of mixed information actually out there about immigrants um, watering down the Canadian culture. We are very open people. We want to embrace new things, new cultures as much as we want to share who we are. We want to share our cultures. Um, we have a wealth of knowledge that we want to use also to impact our community. Uh, we are not dangerous people. We are not insensitive. Everybody has got their own different backgrounds, and we just want to showcase more of who we are. We want to integrate much better into the community, and we, yeah, we want to be a new, happy uh, set of Canadians.
Thank you for saying that. That's so important and so true. You may be surprised to hear that about 6 or 7 years ago, I was on the internet and I came across an advertisement from the government of New Brunswick. And I can't remember it verbatim, but it was so shocking because it did signify the shift of it was a promotional ad telling New Brunswickers that New Brunswick needs to change, that we need to accept diversity, that we need to bring people from other cultures. And it was basically, honestly, a promotional campaign for white people in New Brunswick to be like, and please don't hate them when they get here.
Yeah.
Please don't be racist. Please understand that New Brunswick needs diversity and newcomers to survive, or we are going to fail as a province. And I don't know if it's angering or painful, which more to hear that like you have to speak on that because obviously there is still a very negative narrative about newcomers. And to Hillary and I, the Canadian culture is literally diversity. It signifies like when you're in Toronto, Montreal, Vancouver, where most of Canada lives, I think. um, Canada for me has always been diversity, and anybody can be a Canadian. And if you come here and you
Yeah.
feel and believe and you want to be a Canadian, that's what makes you a Canadian. um, so that's beautiful.
I would also say that you can't pinpoint a Canadian culture when it's
Yeah,
been built on the backs of indigenous people and then Acadians had slaves and it's been so colonized that like I was saying this before the show, like is unless you're going to say Canadian culture is like roots Canada
Tim
Goose and
Hortons,
poutine,
yeah,
then
coffee and hockey.
it's what
Yeah,
everybody has brought to the table and what
yeah.
everybody is a little piece of the entire world. I think Canada has is missing a marketing opportunity by saying Canada is like a mini globe. We are mini the whole
Yeah,
world. We have so much
true.
representation and diversity and beauty, and yet we try so hard to be white while saying we're a mosaic if we just loved all of the colors of the mosaic and all the amazing things those people bring, like
Mhm.
Damilola.
Absolutely. Yeah, and I'll
Yes.
point out, like, built on the backs of indigenous people, um, black slaves, and even
Right.
Chinese, like
Mm,
before
Yes.
China ruled the world, which they do.
yeah.
Yeah, they were brought here and they were treated like absolute garbage in the early 1900s as well. But
100%.
thank you for that additional insight for our listeners. Um, where can people find you? Where can people reach out to you if they want to connect with what you're doing, give you feedback?
Look for that
Yeah.
teaser that'll be coming up about more information about what's coming up.
Yes. I am on Instagram as The Journey NB, The Journey NB, and on YouTube as Clicks by Dami. I am on Instagram as well as Clicks by Dami. That's where I put out my photography, my personal happy stuff, stories, day-to-day stories, but on the journeys of other immigrants, other newcomers here in New Brunswick, it's on The Journey NB on Instagram and on YouTube at Clicks by Dami.
Amazing.
Wonderful. Thank you
And
so much for coming on. I'm so glad that you were able to. First of all, I will shout out that we did turn this around quite quickly. We asked you, I think, in like about a day. And so we're so thankful that you were able to like accommodate our request to come on. And I'm so glad that you were able to connect with Clinton. And I'm so proud of you, Clinton, for combating your public speaking because we were able to have such an amazing guest. Had you said no, we wouldn't be speaking to Damilola right now. And I'm so glad that you did that. And I'm so glad, Damilola, you were able to come on the show. This was
thanks.
Thank
honestly
you.
an inspiring conversation. It makes me almost regret leaving. Almost regret leaving home.
Well, you're welcome back anytime. Now I'm speaking as a New Brunswicker, so we welcome you
Yes.
back anytime.
Thank you.
Yes.
Yes.
The
I'll
new
be there for
face
this
of New Brunswick.
Nigerian party. I'll bring
Yes.
some Senegalese food. We'll have a
Please.
mashing. Very exciting.
Yeah.
I
Thanks.
sus I suspect that many Jamaicans have, with no facts to back this up at all. I suspect that many Jamaicans have uh, some sort of a Nigerian background.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I would. I think there's a lot of similarities between the cultures.
I find that too.
And
I
I,
agree.
again, I know that Nigerian culture is diverse, but of the Nigerians that I've met, I think there's some connection there. Well,
There's with you.
I hope for anyone watching this and listening to this that some of Damilola's happiness has rubbed off on them, because I certainly feel happier after this hour of speaking with you. And I think we're all
Thank
smiling ear to ear. And we are going to keep following you. If you have any new news you want to share with us, always send it to us. And we'll probably have you on the show again in the future. And yeah, it's been really great connecting. So for Hillary, where can people find you?
Crapberry on everything all of the time. Oh, and I started this week something new because I needed to do more things. All of these events that I go to that I've been talking about, I will be doing event recaps on my website, crapberry.ca. But still always blogging for Black Atlantic.
Amazing. And me, as simple as can be, Clinton Davis, anywhere.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Thank you again so much for coming on
Thank you.
today.
Bye
Thanks,
now.
Hillary. Thanks, Clinton. Bye.
Bye-bye.